Chapter 2: The Power of Forgiveness and the Role of Apology. Apology and forgiveness, two of the most important items in human relationships, are, according to the message of the Morning Star, governed by the inflexible law of personal responsibility. The law of personal responsibility is a natural law, just as the law of gravity is, and, like all natural laws, it is absolutely unchangeable. The message says, it is not necessary to be aware of or to believe in the existence of Holy Ghosts, Holy Spirits, or ancestors, which can be the same, or even in a creator, for the law of personal responsibility to rule your life. Can a baby who crawls over the ledge of the roof of a skyscraper escape the natural law of gravity if that baby is unaware of and probably does not believe in the law of gravity? Of course not. In the same way, you cannot escape the natural law of personal responsibility, no matter what your beliefs may be. Forgiveness. Yet, though we know you are answerable for your every deed under the first law, people still ask and pray for the forgiveness of their evil deeds, which you now know are governed by unchangeable natural law. We have all seen truly repentant men and women shed sorrowful tears as they pray very hard to the Creator, asking that their many evil deeds be forgiven. Are their evil deeds then forgiven? The answer is yes. Their evil deeds are 100% forgiven, but only on one condition. The one condition on which the Creator forgives evil deeds. The Creator forgives every evil deed on one condition, and one condition alone. The message reveals what that one condition is. Before we view the one condition that unfailingly brings the Creator's forgiveness, we shall first see exactly what the message says about forgiveness itself. In part 1, the message says, if by forgiveness you mean a situation in which you escape punishment for the evil deeds you have done, your prayers for forgiveness are in vain, because the Creator is consistent and so will not break the Creator's own natural laws. Anyone who claims he or she can help to secure your forgiveness from the Creator wastes his or her time and yours. The source laid down the law of personal responsibility to be fair, just, and consistent. Therefore, the law must operate blindly, without forgiveness. Do not waste your time by asking the Creator for forgiveness in hopes of avoiding punishment for your evil deeds. To forgive you, the Creator must also forgive everyone else. And that is absolutely impossible, because natural laws, by their very nature, cannot be forgiven. Natural laws cannot in any way be modified or canceled. They are automatic, eternal, and unchangeable, just like the physical natural law of gravity. Will you be so naive as to ask the Creator to forgive you gravity and then step out of the window of your 10th floor office to walk on air? If you do good deeds, you must be rewarded. If you do evil deeds, you must be punished. And that is that. That is fair and just, and that is consistent. That is the way it is. That is the way it has always been, and that is the way it will always be. You must suffer full and proportionate punishment for every evil deed you do. That is what the message says in part 1 about forgiveness. It is impossible to avoid punishment for an evil deed. And since your spirit is immortal, the message adds, if your evil deeds are bad enough, you may have to pay with thousands of years of personal suffering. With such a long period of unavoidable punishment being entirely possible, you now know that punishment can continue after death, as well as in any future lives the evildoer may ever have. Even death does not bring relief. Is the Creator merciful? As humans, we somehow know deep down that the Creator must be merciful. We have this natural knowledge that the Creator is merciful. But if the Creator will not allow anyone to escape even one small punishment, there would seem to be a problem with the Creator's mercy. Is humankind's deep down knowledge of the Creator's mercy so totally wrong after all? This is how the message frames the question. If the Creator will permit no evil deed to go unpunished, is the Creator still merciful? Can the Creator still be considered merciful if it will not allow you to escape punishment for your evil deeds? The message also provides the only answer. The answer is yes. The Creator is merciful, and its mercy is absolutely perfect. Here is how and why. The Creator's perfect mercy is shown in the fact that all natural laws are consistent and predictable. The source does not arbitrarily change natural laws in order to punish an evildoer or to accommodate a doer of good deeds. The absolute consistency of all natural laws is the manifestation of the Creator's perfect mercy. Notice that the source's perfect mercy is its predictable consistency. Contrast that total and absolute predictability and consistency of the source with humankind's often vindictive inconsistency and unpredictability. Is it not rather interesting that many human societies have groups of people, known as lawmakers, whose permanent function it is to make new laws and change old ones with never a chance to stop? If the source made and changed natural laws as often as humankind does, what would your life be like? Imagine what would happen if, for example, the source decides this afternoon to cut gravity by 45% or increase the sun's heat by 70%. This is the one condition that brings the Creator's forgiveness. Note carefully now the one condition that will always bring you the Creator's forgiveness. By fully understanding this single condition, you will avoid many illusions and no longer waste your time on useless procedures. In revealing that one condition, the message says, the Creator forgives only after full punishment, never before. So there it is. The Creator's forgiveness comes only after you have suffered your full punishment. There is never any forgiveness before full punishment. First, you suffer your earned punishment in accordance with the universal reward accounting system. Then forgiveness follows. The Creator's forgiveness is unique. Forgiveness by the Creator is unique in two remarkable and important ways. In describing that uniqueness, the message says, 1. The Creator's forgiveness is automatic. You do not need to ask for it. 2. Once you have paid in full for your evil deed, that evil deed is marked paid in your record in the universal reward accounting system. Forgiveness is shown by the fact that you bear no stigma. Notice carefully that once your punishment is complete, the Creator's forgiveness is automatic and you do not bear any stigma. Contrast this remarkable no stigma feature with forgiveness among humankind. Forgiveness among humankind. Consider a person who breaks humankind's laws. Notice how people say, lock him or her up for a long time. People and their governments seem to hope that a long time means forever, because when the locked up person finally completes the long prison term and is released, the people and their governments seem genuinely surprised that a long time finally came to an end. So, of course, they simply continue the already completed punishment by imposing the permanent stigma named a criminal record. What does that really mean? Is humankind able to forgive? We are not talking here about the simple good deed of canceling a loan of money or goods, though it is called forgiving a loan. We are speaking here of the heavy-duty matter of forgiving an offense. You will agree that there is probably a need for us to forgive others. But can we do it? Does humankind have the ability to forgive? When the target of your evil deed says, I forgive you, can that forgiveness help you in the universal reward accounting system? What is the power of forgiveness? For a complete answer, we again go to part 1 of the message. It says, but have you ever really and truly forgiven any serious offense totally, completely, and forever, to the extent that you no longer remember the offense with a twinge of anger and a desire to punish or revenge? No? No problem. You are not alone. What this signifies is very important. It signifies that humankind has no ability to forgive an offense. This inability to forgive does not matter, though, because the message goes on to say, your forgiveness has no effect whatsoever on the offender receiving his or her full punishment, no effect on what the punishment will be, and no effect at all on how painful that punishment will be. In other words, no one needs your forgiveness because it is useless. So, as you can see, the message makes it clear that 1, humans do not have the ability to forgive an offense, and even if they do, there is no need for forgiveness because 2, forgiveness does not cancel, change, or reduce the offender's punishment in the universal reward accounting system. Apology. What happens when you offend the Creator, or you offend angels or your ancestors, or you offend other people, realize your error, are truly sorry, and apologize? We shall now examine the important subject of apology in its only 3 distinct varieties. 1. Apology to the Creator. 2. Apology to angels and your ancestors. And 3. Apology to humankind. 1. Apology to the Creator. When you offend the Creator and apologize, what happens? It is important to pay close attention to the effect of such an apology. The source is completely self-sufficient. It has no needs. This fact is difficult for humankind to fully understand because humans are very needy. But think about it for a moment. If the source of all things is weak enough to need anything, It cannot be the source of all things. But since the source is indeed the source of all things, it has no needs of any kind. Therefore, humankind cannot possibly offend the source. To even think we can do so is in itself exceedingly arrogant. When people break a natural law, they have not offended the Creator. They have simply broken an unchangeable law, and for that error, they will suffer automatic and unavoidable consequences. If you ignore gravity and race down a hill covered in ice and you slip, fall, and break a bone, you have not offended the Creator. If you choose not to honor your father and your mother, you have not offended the Creator either. You have foolishly chosen to break a natural law. You will suffer the unavoidable consequences. The message has revealed the only conclusion possible in this case. Since humankind cannot offend the source, there is never a need for any human to ask the source for forgiveness. If you break any natural law, you take your punishment, and then forgiveness follows. 2. Apology to angels and to your assigned ancestors. When you do an evil deed, realize your error, feel you have offended the angels and or your assigned ancestors, and are sorry, do you need to apologize to them? While the source has no needs whatsoever, angels and ancestors do have some needs. This is because they both have reward accounts and they both need rewards. But compared to humankind, their needs are few. Angels and ancestors do not need your apology or your respect or worship. Angels and ancestors have earned their freedom from such low-level needs. But angels and ancestors need and expect your gratitude. You should therefore thank them for delivering rewards. Not to do so are evil deeds that, of course, earn appropriate punishments in the universal reward accounting system. 3. Apology to humankind. You now know that the Creator needs no apology. You also know that angels and ancestors need no apology either. But what happens when you offend another person, realize your error, and are truly sorry? Do you need to apologize to another human being? The message of the Morning Star reveals that an apology to another human being is good and important for 2 reasons. A. An apology is a sign of your respect for the person you offended, and B. Showing respect to another person is a good deed. Humans are very needy. Therefore, when you offend another person, you should apologize. But you must apologize to the person you offended. If you fail to honor your parent by refusing his or her reasonable request, you must apologize to the parent, not to the Creator. You cannot clear your debt to Mr. A by paying Miss B the money you borrowed from Mr. A. That's not how it works. A conditional apology is an evil deed. A genuine apology must be unconditional. We often hear people say, "If you feel offended, I'm sorry. The words are regretted." That is a conditional apology, and it is an evil deed. An apology should sound like this: "I am sorry I did not return your book as I promised. I should have been more considerate. I am truly sorry. Here is the book. It is very informative, and that's why I kept it. hoping you'd forget it was I who borrowed it. That apology is unconditional. It's also a small good deed. When you ask the Creator to make you a better person, what happens? Suppose you finally realize that you have been doing a large number of evil deeds, but very few good deeds, and as a religious person, you ask your Creator to make you a better person. What will happen in that case? Hear now what the message says about such a request. Please, do not waste your time. Only you, in the exercise of your own absolute free will, can make yourself a better person because you know right from wrong. When you ask your Creator to make you a better person, you are attempting to resign your responsibility and transfer to your Creator the responsibility for your deeds. That is impossible. You cannot transfer your responsibility to your Creator. You become a better person only by doing more good deeds and by not doing evil deeds, not by attempting to transfer your responsibility or your free will to your Creator. Your ancestors begin to assess and record your every deed in your personal reward account once you are old enough to recognize the difference between good and evil. Because that is when your obligations under the first law begin. And once they begin for you as a living human, they will last as long as your present human life does. End of Chapter 2. Summary of Chapters 1 and 2. 1. Natural law requires that everyone receive rewards for good deeds and punishments for evil deeds. 2. An inflexible system known as the Universal Reward Accounting System is in place to ensure that natural law operates equally for everyone. 3. You were born with a reward account that already holds reward points, negative reward points, and punishment points. You earned those points through your deeds in your previous lives. 4. Every good thing in your life is a reward. Most, but not all, bad things in your life are punishments. 5. Rewards come only after you have earned them by doing good deeds. Punishments come only after you have earned them by doing evil deeds. Rewards and punishments always begin in this life, not later. 6. Humankind has no ability to forgive an offense. It's not useful to even try. Importantly, forgiving has no value in the Universal Reward Accounting System. 7. To receive more rewards in your life, do more good deeds and no evil deeds. That ends the basic information on the Universal Reward Accounting System.